and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Weekly Tech Home Builder. I'm your host, Anya Chrisanthon, and joining me today is my good friend, Leah Fellows. Leah is founder and CEO of Blue Gypsy Inc. And Leah, I'm so happy that you're able to join us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm always happy to hang out and chat with you.
Yay. So Leah, why don't we kick things off by you telling us a little bit about who you are and what your company does.
Okay, well, I am a national online sales counselor trainer for new home builders. So I help them set up that person who is the face of their website, dealing with all of their digital incoming leads, phone calls, and all of that. I've had the company for about 10 years now. I've been training for about 6 or 7 years. And I started out in the industry as an online sales counselor about 15 years ago. And I took everything I learned, and that's how I take into the real world, into training.
So Leah, I can imagine that you've been pretty busy with training, especially with what's been happening with the pandemic. There's been major shifts suddenly of all the traffic to the, instead of going straight to the model home, which is questionable whether or not they were doing that before, but now everyone's really online, and it sounds like it's here to stay. So can you talk to us about some of the latest trends and things that you're really hearing from online sales counselors as you're training them? As I can imagine, most of them are pretty overwhelmed right now.
True. So, it's 2 different things. I have my online sales counselors that I've worked with for years that, started out years ago, and they've completely seen the shift. And then, of course, there's the new ones that don't know any better. So you're trying to get them up to speed and set them up for success. And of course, this year has been a big, like you said, a push. We've always known that at least 90% or more people begin their search online. But of course, with COVID, more inquiries are coming through the websites. Builders that have already had this set up have really pushed to have everything come through their online sales counselor, which has always been the top of the funnel, and then filter down to their new home sales counselors on site. So as far as what I'm seeing is I'm seeing an overwhelming number of phone calls, emails, coming through. Every single builder I work with, their stats have gone way up. For marketing, we're seeing far more contacts. And with those contacts, it's kind of like they're drinking through a fire hose of leads, So we have had to put things in place. A lot of teams are growing. Before, you could possibly have one online sales counselor, and we used to say it's a 24/7 job, but now you're just going to burn those people out, and they're going to say goodbye if they don't have some sort of backup and support. So we're creating more systems to back up, support those online sales counselors, and really make sure we're not letting too many of those leads slip through the cracks and into the gutter, right?
Exactly. So the marketing is only as good as the salespeople, right? So you can get all the sales leads you can, but if the salespeople aren't able to convert them, then there's going to be a major issue there. Now, Leah, I know you've been in the industry for a long time, and when you first started to what the role of online sales counselor is now, I can imagine it's somewhat different. And I know you have recently partnered with Melinda Brody Company, and you guys did some secret shopping specifically for online sales counselors. So can you talk to us a little bit more about that secret shopping experience, what that entailed, and what did you learn from it?
Yes. So there's actually 2 things. So I love Melinda Brody and Company. As most people know, they've been around forever doing mystery shops and secret shops for the building industry. And recently we partnered to do online sales counselor shops, but to basically do secret shops of the online sales process. So what we did was we took 50 builders across the country. We didn't know whether they had online sales counselors or not, but what we did was a 30-day shop process. And we were looking for the speed of follow-up, the frequency of the message, and the diversity of tools used to try to contact those leads. So that 30-day process is what we would do if we were doing a one-on-one online sales counselor shop. That is what we would be looking at, is what is their process. And we would look at that even further beyond what we did in this 30-day shop, because we would then make a phone call, see how they talk to us, how they try to set an appointment, and then move on from there. And usually with an online sales counselor shop, it stops there and we look at what happens when the appointment no-shows. But the cool thing about doing this with Melinda Brody and Company, if we were to do a full online sales counselor shop, is we could actually tack on the on-site sales, which is what their specialty has been, and go from online to on-site and follow that lead the entire way through the marketing process and through the buyer's journey, right? But what we did with these 50 shops was we were just seeing in general how builders were handling their leads and who had OSCs and who didn't, and how quickly this was happening. And there were some interesting things about the shop, like the fact that 58% of the builders had online sales counselors. So that means 42% out there still didn't.
Let me ask you this. So of 50 builders that you shopped, can you tell us the size of the builders? Were they, big national builders, regionals, custom builders? Like, how did you decide which 50 you were going to pick?
That's a great question. We chose a little bit of everything. We went to the top 200 list and we chose about maybe 28, 29 from the top 100. And we did this with denim marketing as well. So it was Melinda Brody and Company, myself, and denim marketing. And then we pulled other builders that we wanted to shop as well. Most of them were either regional or local. Probably none of them were custom builders. None of them really built probably less than 100 homes or so. So you would think that if they're building about 100 homes or more a year, they should have an online sales counselor in place.
That was my exact thought. I would say if you're at 50, right, you should consider getting an online sales counselor. I'd imagine if you're at 100, that's a must have. If you think about today's consumer, especially now, it's the COVID kind of accelerated that whole push, right? Consumers were ready for it. Now builders need to get on board with this. And, people are shopping at night, in the evening, during the day, but when they're ready to chat with somebody, when I pick up that phone or I see chat now, like, I'm ready to go. And if you're not there to respond, or, if that option is not even there, that's a problem. Because I'm moving on to the next guy. So, okay, so you said 58% of people that you shopped had an online sales. Okay, right. So we still have some work to do here.
Right. And in everything that we measured, we measured the difference between how the OSCs responded versus how the builders without OSCs responded. And again, there were not a lot of surprises. 3% of the builders with OSCs didn't respond at all. So that means that OSC was never trained. Sometimes I've found that over the years, people have said, I need an online sales counselor, and they put one in place, but they don't always have all the training in. But 97% of those OSCs sent a personal email. So that means 97% of the OSCs did that. Whereas 43% of the builders who didn't have OSCs sent personalized emails, and 57% didn't. Okay. Wow. So that means they may have sent out marketing emails or something like that, but it was very generic follow-up. Mm-hmm. So that kind of gives you an idea.
Do you have a number? And so of the 3% that you're saying they did not follow up at all, or did they just follow up maybe with the generic email? So are you?
They didn't send a personal email is what I have. So
okay, so you're not counting. You're not counting generic email as a follow-up here.
I want to say 20% of all builders didn't send any personal emails, and 50% didn't send marketing emails. So, and that's the whole out of the whole 50. So looking at the whole 50. So if we're looking at personalized emails versus marketing emails. And something I want to clarify is, like, you hear things like personalized emails. That doesn't mean that they were all manually sent, because we have automations that can help online sales counselors deal with the volume that are coming in. And they can still have personalization and seem like they are targeted to the personal needs of that buyer, versus something that's more marketing generic and doesn't address their needs, if that makes sense.
Okay, so that makes sense, because I was like, whoa, okay, so we're not counting
Mhm.
we're not counting any kind of a automated follow-up here, but we are counting it.
We are. It's probably, we don't know whether it was automated. There's a difference between autoresponders and automation. Okay. Everybody should have an autoresponder, I believe, because that's something that goes out immediately to let you know, hey, we've received your inquiry. And then automatically we should then have a follow-up process. And some of those are automated. The first one may be more personalized because you need to take into account what somebody's actually asking about. So we found that 60% of all the builders had autoresponders. That means 40% did not even have an autoresponder.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and let's talk about leave me hanging, huh?
yeah. Yeah, because then you just don't know, right? I want to say somewhere around 10% or so, and I don't have it right in front of me. There was a percentage that we received no follow-up whatsoever from the builders at all. We had red streaks on our spreadsheet showing us no follow-up, meaning no emails, no phone calls, no attempts whatsoever to contact. So here you are spending marketing dollars to generate a lead, and then nothing happened with that lead at all.
That hurts me as a
I
marketing
know.
person.
Isn't
That
it
just hurts
painful?
me. I feel that pain. Okay, so sounds like obviously there's a huge difference between builders with OSC, where only 3% did not respond, versus majority of those who do not have a OSC did not respond. I mean, that's a huge gap. Clearly, having an OSC works.
Mhm.
And one of the things we know in sales is that I forget what the exact statistic, but it was like something between 30 to 70%, I want to say, of all the sales goes to the first person or company who responds.
So yeah, 78% of customers buy from the first company to respond.
Okay, so it's even
That's what
higher
you're
than
looking for.
yeah.
So that's 78%, right?
Okay, so this is how important this is. Think
Yeah.
about it. If 78% of customers buy from the first company that responds, that should be your primary goal, is to make sure that you're not only responding, but you're the first one to respond.
Exactly. So 2% called in 5 minutes or less, and 0% emailed a personalized email addressing that issue in 5 minutes or less. Yes, autoresponders may have gone immediately, but that doesn't count.
Got it.
Okay.
So if you think about it, 5 minutes is kind of forever these days.
Yes.
It really is. Now, let me ask you this. So, I think a lot of builders, especially when they're maybe kind of switching from that custom builder to a small production builder, and maybe they're falling right into that 50 to 100
Uh-huh.
homes, and they're starting to think like, okay, I need to implement some kind of a system, but maybe they're thinking, okay, maybe it's not a person, maybe it's one of those chat bots.
Uh-huh.
So was that you guys did not look at chatbots here at
We
all,
didn't.
right? It was,
Mhm.
you have an inquiry submission form on your website, so I went in, I submitted, and what happens afterwards?
Exactly. Yeah. We didn't go through chat or chat bots. We did look at how many builders had chat on their website. We didn't necessarily look to see how many had chat bots, and we didn't test their chat.
Okay.
So that was something, there is something in our report, and you can get the full report on my website. I can give you the link after
Yeah, if
that.
you can give it a link, that would be
But
great.
but we do have some data on the report of how many builders had chat and how many didn't. And I always say chat is a great feature, but don't use it as a band-aid for your real online sales counselor program. You know, and there are many, we could get into a lot of details. If you want to know what I mean by a band-aid, just ask me later.
All right.
But
Sounds good. So, okay, so we talked about how quickly they're responding. I think that's probably number one, right? What other couple of trends that were you able to notice with all the data?
Right. So another thing that we looked at was the whole point of, we know it takes 8 to 12 touch points, right, to convert something.
Right.
So you need to have multiple touch points in order to be relevant. If you just send one and then nothing else ever again, you're not likely to convert that lead. 70% of the builders made less than 5 touch points in that 30-day period. Um, and 12% use 3 or more different types of touch points. And when I say different types, we've got phone, we've got email, we've got text messaging, video email, which video email is so important these days. You and I have had this conversation a million times. We know it. But only 12% utilized more than 3 or more types of touch points. So that's something that we looked at. In our big report, we tell you how often, how frequently, and how that dropped off in both the OSCs as far as their follow-up and the non-OSCs. So that's something that you can see within the full report.
Yeah, I mean, that's 70% less than 5 touch points is really, really sad. So if you guys know, you know that follow-up is near and dear to my heart. And this is why it's a passion of mine, is because every single year, like last year, I spoke with Melinda Brody when they did when they did their secret shop for the online sales counselors. And again, the number was really, really high. So it's just that people are not following up, right? So one of the cool things is that obviously if you're realizing that, hey, we're in a situation where we either need to get an OSC, or maybe we have an OSC, but they're not doing the, they're not doing this, right? They're not following up quickly enough. They're not following up with a variety of messages, or the frequency of messages. Now there's some help that that's available. Obviously, Leah, that's what she does for a living, is she trains OSC teams. But also, when you think about secret shopping as a training option, I think most people think of secret shopping as like, oh, you're trying to get me in trouble, or like, see how bad of a job I'm doing. But I think you should embrace the idea of being secret shopped. And that's something would be amazing for your team, because that's a great learning opportunity. What do you think, Leah?
Well, I love it because, and just like you, I don't think it's supposed to be used as an excuse to reprimand anybody. It's a snapshot in time. That's the thing, is like, it's only one lead. It's only following one process, but it gives us some ideas about how we can help our online or our on-site agents improve. And that's what secret shops are all about. It's not a gotcha, like you were saying. It's not, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. You don't know what kind of bad day they might be having too, but it's just to give you some sort of baseline to get a feel for what's going on, so that you can then take that and turn anything that seems like a weakness or something that needs work into a strength. And that's how I use it in my programs. And that's why I love having the ability to refer my clients to Melinda Brody and company to do these, so that we get a really strong shop. And, we created this sort of 300 different points, that are looked at throughout that 30-day process. And then including that phone call that happens to try to set the appointment, and how we even do the handoff process between the online sales counselor and the on-site agent, because that handoff is just as important as everything that's happening before it. So being able to see that entire process through, and then figure out what pain points your people have so you can train it, is definitely a win-win for everyone.
Yes, and I think it's amazing to be able to do that secret shop from kind of like point A to point Z, because when you think about improving your customer journey, right? It's such a hot topic, customer journey, customer experience. Unfortunately, many builders are not even able to describe what that experience looks like when
Mhm.
they enter, say, the information on their website. Like, what happens next? What are the expectations for your customer? What does that journey looks like? So if you have a secret shopping company spotlight the light on it for you, you can really see the major holes in what's missing. Hey, think about it from the perspective of your customer. They're experiencing this for the very first time. What does it look like for them, and what can you improve as a builder? Because we know that customers are demanding that Amazon experience.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, they are.
when somebody's thinking about training OSCs for 2021, what are some of the biggest things that you would have them concentrate on? We've kind of talked about a few of them already, but if you had to summarize and maybe top three things that you think OSCs should really um, spend their time on, or the builder should invest in, what would that be?
Builders should always invest in the best possible CRM system they've got, that they can find, that will have the ability for someone, like you said, you need automation. You need to be able to stop and start different processes. You need to have multiple processes and reporting. That CRM system that can track people depending on what website, where they are on the website, how frequently they're coming back, that can see the open rates of the emails, have it all right there. CRM is the foundation of everything. So invest in CRM if you haven't done that. Invest in a strong website that can generate leads. Make sure you're not sacrificing your customers' usability for design. Okay, so that's second. And third, anything you can utilize to automate, to help automation, but in a personalized way. Yes, chatbots can be good. Yes, having any kind of email automation, having phone processes in place. It's so important to have a phone system that can help you route your calls in the right directions, because your OSCs are getting more traffic than ever before, and we need to make sure they're getting the right traffic to them, not the warranty calls, not the appraisers, not all that sort of stuff, not the people trying to sell you marketing. You need the right things to come to you. So by having a proper phone routing system. So those are the three things I would tell a builder to invest in
Love that.
as far as tools. And then as far as training and what your OSCs need to really be trained on, time management, right? We need to get that time management in play, and how we're going to think. And you have to be able to deal with everything coming into you, as well as all your ongoing follow-up, and how you're going to do that, how you're going to fit that all in, tracking and build, and understanding that their job is to build rapport and create relationships, as well as do ongoing follow-up until they can get that appointment, right? It's not just an appointment setter. It's not just somebody like a roofing company. Oh, your roof is leaking. What's your name? Your phone number? That's not what an OSC is doing. And I think there is a disconnect sometimes that the agents don't understand how much information and rapport is being created on the end of the OSC. So those are the areas that I would make sure your people are strong on.
I love this. And you're right. I think about the last point you made, that people don't realize just how much rapport. I remember in my old selling days, we had a great OSC, and the customer would come in and ask for them. And it's great that they were able to establish such a rapport, but also, as you talked about, that handoff and expectation of, hey, I'm not going to be there, but the amazing salesperson Anya Chrisanthon is going to be on site to take care of you, right?
Right.
So that's very important when you think about that customer experience. So Leah, thank you so very much for spending the time with us. I really appreciate you. And I think for builders who are either don't have OSC in place, that's something to think about, just how important that is, especially going forward. And for those of you who already have OSC, yay. But also remember that there's room to improve, especially with how much stress they're under. Think about all these leads that they've been getting. Make sure that you have appropriate number of OSCs handling appropriate number of leads so they don't get burned out and still have time to improve their skills and improve customer experience for you. So that's all for now. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you very shortly. Bye.